Yes, folks, welcome back to Talking Wolves. We are back for a brand new match preview on the channel. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. Wolves are back at Molineux finally this weekend as we take on Brentford. Fourth game between these two teams in just over a month or so. But looking forward to it. You know, Wolves are on good form right now. Things are looking rosy at the club, and hopefully we can continue that. You know, it's going to be a really interesting end to the season now, to really see what level Wolves can reach. You know, I sort of spoke about it on the podcast, our home fixtures between now and the end of the season, and genuinely Wolves could have a really, really strong ending to the season. But historically, you could say Wolves have struggled a little bit against the teams that we really should be getting the points against. So we'll have to wait and see. And Brentford are a team who I felt we've been better than in all three of the fixtures that we've played them in, but they've had, you know, some improvements since we've last played them. Obviously, Ivan Toney's a big one. And, you know, we'll have the Brentford perspective from Billy, from Besotted as always, later on in the video as well. But very quickly, I'll get the Premier League table up on the screen right now. Wolves sat in 10th place, I believe. Yeah, 10th place, 23 games gone, 32 points on the board. You look at our goal scoring numbers, you know, in regards to team goal scoring, but then goal scoring in terms of Cunha, Neto, Hwang and Sarabia, the returns that they're getting. It's been a phenomenal season so far for the Wolves in terms of going forward and so on. You know, another win here this weekend could put Wolves up a place or two and be in a really, really nice position. We have got some tricky fixtures. You know, we've got Spurs next week away, but then you return to the home game the following week against Sheffield United at home, which you would hope Wolves can get the victory from. So really, you know, interesting times from Wolves. But big bonus and big plus, you could say, is the players returning for Wolverhampton Wanderers this weekend. Hwang Hee-chan, his nation, South Korea, were knocked out of the Asia Cup this week. So he's going to be back in Wolverhampton, and you would assume part of the squad for Saturday's game. I really doubt they would start on that he would start on Saturday. Boubacar Traore as well, Mali out of AFCON, so he will be back as well. And just very quickly, if I try and flag up the screen from the Chelsea game, just the overall squad on the screen right now, and you can see there the quality of our squad. I would assume Wolves will remain unchanged for this game as long as everyone's fit. You would say everyone should be unchanged, but then you look at the bench. If you allow, you know, if Boubacar returns and Hwang Hee-chan returns, then you look at that team and you would probably assume, you know, Doc would stay in there, Bueno, Doyle, Bellegarde, Bueno, Dan Bentley, and then you would assume Boubacar and Hwang will probably come in for Harvey Griffiths and Tawanda Chirewa and keep Fraser on the bench. That is a really, really good Premier League bench then. And I think Wolves, of course, you're only a couple of suspensions or injuries away from that changing, but you have got other players like Noah Lemina who be interested to see if he gets some game time for the 21 soon. But really, that is a nice, you know, a really nice squad for us to push on with and really hopefully push on and try and get some positive results from. Like I said, looking at Brentford though, they are going to be an interesting team because I genuinely have felt very comfortable so far this season whenever we've played them. They're 15th in the league right now, 22 matches played and just 22 points. So they are actually only 3 points ahead of the drop zone. If you look at their form since Ivan Toney's return, they've had 3 games in the Premier League, 1 win, 2 defeats, albeit the 2 defeats have been to Spurs and Manchester City. But they have scored in all 3 games, and they've scored actually 6... no, let me get this right. Yeah, 6 goals in the 3 games. So they're not too bad in front of goal. So this will be a different task. It's not going to be the same Brentford that we played previously. Obviously, with Ivan Toney returning, it's just this massive sort of, I don't know, big momentum boost for them. And Thomas Frank, you would assume, will try his best to get points from this game because just looking at their fixtures now, they play us, then they play Liverpool and City back to back. So to have Spurs, City, us, Liverpool, and City again in the league is a horrible little run-in for Brentford. So they'll be looking at this game really hoping. I mean, looking at their 3 fixtures after that, they've then got West Ham, then Chelsea and Arsenal. That's a really horrible group of fixtures for Brentford, to be honest. So, you know, very, very difficult times for them, I would assume. But hopefully we can, you know, turn things around, continue our strong form, and we're going to have a really strong core squad together as well. Before we get to my predicted lineup though, guys, big shout out once again to our partners over at BetMate. I'm not sure if any of you guys got involved in last week's when I shouted it out on the preview, but if you did get involved, then I'd love to know where you guys finished. I managed to finish second in the end, bagging just under 50 quid for that one, and I picked a lot of good players. Højlund was my vice captain, João Gomez was my captain, but I also had Cunha, who obviously bagged a hat-trick for the Wolves. I had even more points when Aït-Nouri's goal counted as his own goal very quickly before it changed into an own goal. But this week's game is the Premier League 3 p.m. kickoffs, and the fixtures involved in this one are Liverpool, Burnley, Fulham, Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford, Spurs, Brighton, and Luton, Sheffield United. But my team for this game week is as follows, with Trafford in goal. I think, although I don't think Burnley will win, he'll get plenty of save points throughout the game. Udogie and Robinson is my back two. I've gone with Ross Barkley, who's been on really good form. With João Gomez, once again, I'm backing him as my captain because all of the tackle points that you get. And then Cunha is my vice captain, so he'll get times 1.5 points. And Richarlison up front as well. To get involved in this game week, guys, it's £5 entry. The top, there's a £500 prize pool as well. If you do win, you're going to win yourself 150 quid. So if you want to join, link at the top of the description down below. If you join using that or using the code TW10, you'll get a £10 bonus as well. Obviously 18 plus, UK residents only. Please do gamble aware. But we will move on to my predicted lineup, guys. And as I sort of alluded to earlier, I do think it's going to be an unchanged lineup for the Wolves. Really, really strong performance against Chelsea. Fantastic to see Matheus Cunha grab a hat-trick as well. But obviously the likes of Pedro Neto, the chance of you being able to bring off Hwang Hee-chan off the bench is brilliant as well. But in my team, obviously, here, Jose Sarr in goal. Ryan Aït-Nouri, great to have him back starting as well at left wing back. Centre-backs of Dawson, Totti, who's just signed a new contract, which is great news, and Max Kilman. Right wing back of Nelson Semedo. Midfield two, João Gomez and Mario Lemina. On the front three, Matheus Cunha, Pedro Neto and Pablo Sarabia. But do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on that predicted lineup. And as always, it's great to have Billy the Bee from the Besotted channel back on today. Obviously, we've had a lot of updates on Brentford, but been interesting and been a lot of change there over the last few weeks or so. So this is what he has to say in his thoughts ahead of the game.
Hi, Wolves fans. This is Billy the Bee from Besotted, the Brentford fanzine and podcast. Thanks for having me back again. More than halfway through the season, and we've seen each other so many times, we probably don't want to see each other again until next season, where I'm sure that we're going to meet next season as well. He says, touch wood. I'm just here to just give you a little brief rundown of what's happened since the last time we played you, or probably just maybe a brief rundown on all 4 times or 3 times that we played you, because this is the 4th time we're playing you in just over a month, actually. So like I said to you, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day. I'm sitting here like Bill Murray talking about Brentford once again. You probably know most of the things about Brentford. If you go back on my previous reviews for your podcast, you'll know what our big problems were, about the injuries, about Ivan Toney being out, about us sort of, creating chances, but also defensively being a bit weak. If anything, and that's mainly due to the injuries, players being out. Since we last played you, which is in that FA Cup game, which to be fair, actually, it's the FA Cup game. Was it the FA Cup game we played? Yeah, it was the FA Cup game that you played you last. To be fair, it was actually quite a good cup game. Quite an exciting cup game. As per usual, we went ahead, couldn't keep on to the victory, and then we lost in time added on, or extra time as it was. So we went out the cup. It was one of those funny ones, actually, when I think when we were drawing, a lot of Brentford fans going, oh no, we don't want to go into injury time, because we were a little bit concerned because we had a big game a couple of days after that. Ivan Toney obviously was coming back against Nottingham Forest, and we really wanted the focus to be on the Ivan Toney game. So us having that replay against you was a little bit of a pain, it has to be said. Just for us, it might have been for you as well. Mainly for us, because we've got so many players out and injured, and we just didn't need another game in the mixer. But we got through that one. Didn't quite get the result we wanted, but again, there was a few upsides for us. So I was actually quite happy with kind of what happened in the end. And to be quite honest with you, I'm quite glad that we're out the cup, because we just didn't need the cup, because we got so many players out. We just didn't need that at all. We just need to focus on the league. So what's been going on since the last time, like I said, we played you? Well, Ivan Toney has come back. He, ironically, the day that he was due back was the day after the replay against yourselves. So if the replay was actually put onto the Wednesday, that would actually be Ivan Toney's first game back. He came back, as you've probably seen. There was all massive furore about him moving the ball and him scoring a goal, and Forest fans weren't happy. Whether or not that was right or whether it was wrong, he definitely actually created a big buzz back in the Brentford camp. It was like Groundhog Day. Like I said to you, every single game we were kind of not getting the results we wanted, but him coming back was a change within the Brentford setup. You could just feel that there was a change in dynamic. There was a change. There was something new. It's actually quite exciting. It was actually quite exciting to actually go to a game for the first time in quite a while. And even though he hadn't played for ages, and you could see he was puffing and panting by the end of the game, you could see what a difference he had made to Brentford in that match. So that was great. So, that was a big positive, having Ivan Toney back. Plus side also of having Ivan Toney back is Neil Maupay. I mean, people laughed about Neil Maupay. I've probably talked about him previously on the podcast as well. A lot of people saying that he wasn't any good. He couldn't score any goals. I was just saying that Brentford is his home. He bleeds red and white. And we now, to get him to play, I think he scored 5 goals in 5 games now as well. We're not saying that he's like Harry Kane or anything like that, but he was brought in to fill a bit of a stopgap for us this season. And I think now him and the partnership that he's forming with Ivan Toney as well, you could see sort of like 2 cheeky chappies as it is together. I think it's actually kind of working really well for us. So like I said to you, that's another bonus and a bit of a plus probably since the last time that we played you, which was, again, we played you in the playoff in the FA Cup game, but I'm even talking about the game before that, because that's kind of the real time where there's been quite a number of sort of big differences between that Brentford and this Brentford now. So that's good as well. Transfer windows opened as well. We went for a number of targets as we've been struggling a little bit to try and get people through the door at Brentford for various reasons. We had a player that we had coming into us as well, and at the very last minute we pulled out the deal. I think there was something wrong with his medical, and we've gone back in to try and to renegotiate the deal, which is a shame. Apparently he's a very, very good player from Bruges over in Belgium. A very good winger, very fast winger, young player. He's a big prospect out there, so that didn't come through. But again, for us, it's one of those scenarios that we're really looking for next season. So I think with our situation there, we are trying to nab players now before the summer comes where other teams can nab them. So I think that's a situation we were trying to get in there early. Hasn't quite happened. I still think we're trying to cut some sort of deal at the moment now. I don't know how that's going to work, to try and see if we can get him in the summer, probably for a cut price now in Brentford as well. So that's going to be interesting. But I think the big signing for us is Reguilón, who came in from Tottenham Hotspur. He went over to Man United, didn't quite work out there, and he's come in for us. And I've talked beforehand about how our defence is leaking. I mean, everyone talks about how we keep on dropping our leads. We're the team that's dropped most leads in the whole of the Premier League so far. So we go ahead, we end up sort of kind of dropping points, whether or not it's 1 point or whether or not it's 3 points. It happens quite a lot, and it's actually quite frustrating. And that's because, like I said to you, we've pretty much got a makeshift defence there, and we're waiting for our defenders to come back, which is probably not going to happen until next season. So Reguilón coming in, we saw particularly just recently what a massive difference he is making in our side. He's a big player. He's a good player. And like I said to you, we're really looking forward to actually kind of seeing him, how he actually is going to fit into the team and in the Wolverhampton Wanderers game. So Reguilón is a big player for us as well. What else are we looking at? We've also got a couple of players out, as we know. We've got Wissa, who's out at the African Nations. They just got knocked out from the DRC Congo, got knocked out last night. So he's not on his way back because he's in the 3rd and 4th place playoff game. But we really miss him up front at the moment now. And also we've got Frank the Tank Onyeka, who's playing for Nigeria, who are in the final. And it's interesting because Frank was one of these players where a bit touch and go about him. He hasn't had the best seasons. He hasn't had the best sort of kind of. He's been Brentford about a couple of seasons now, or a season and a half. Well, yeah, a couple of seasons. And I think that he's been a bit touch and go. And a lot of fans were thinking, maybe Frank should go this window. And then he's gone over to the African Cup of Nations, and he's had a blinder for Nigeria as a CDM. He's actually he's properly riced himself right up. So we're actually looking forward to him coming back to see what he can do, because Norgard plays in that position, but Norgard is on I think he's on 5 yellow cards at the moment now, so he's going to be suspended soon. And he gets injured quite a bit as well, so that'll be quite interesting. So we've got that is a big bonus for us with Frank the Tank coming back from Africa, looking like he's a bit more of a player than before he left. And the final thing I'm going to talk about on a positive is Flecken. And I talked about on the various podcasts I've been on how we were very, very, very shaky about our goalkeeper, because he doesn't seem to dive or save or do anything. And I think he's when you do expected goals as well, there's expected goals against as well. And I think he's like -9, as in basically he's letting 9 goals more than he was expected to, which is quite bad. So he hasn't looked great, and we're going to put his hand up, say he hasn't looked great. But when he played against Tottenham the other day, he played against Tottenham the other day, and mate, it was He had a blind. No, it wasn't Tottenham. Sorry, it was Manchester City. Again, that's when Reguilon played as well. He played against Manchester City. Yes, I know we lost. We went 1-0 up in that game. Good game. And then afterwards, we ended up losing 3-1, I think it was. But in the first half, he had an absolute blinder and everyone went fair play. Okay, there you go. And that's why you shouldn't necessarily write off players too quickly. You know, David Raya, when he first started with us, and I said this before, for the first 6 months, he was proper dodgy, but then he came good. So I think players need to find their feet. And he did a press conference and he said, you know, I'm really glad that I've finally been able to show people the type of goalkeeper that I am. And I think he knows that he's actually kind of let himself down and hasn't played up to the standards that everyone expects him to. So hopefully he'll carry that on. It's all right doing it for one game, but you've got to do it for quite a few games. So those are the plus points probably from the last time that we played you going into this game. So playing Wolverhampton Wanderers for the fourth time, obviously we're playing it at your ground. You've got a lot of good players. I think you had a couple of signings as well in the window as well. Always going to be dangerous. You've got some fantastic players, and we know it's going to be very, very tricky. We know we find it very hard to keep a clean sheet as well. But then Flecken's in form. We got Reguilon in there, and he was looking good against Manchester City. All I can say is that we can go into that game. It's not a free hit as such. Some of the fans think we need a result, but for me, I think we need probably 3 results between now and May. I don't necessarily think that the Wolverhampton Wanderers one is one, as long as we get 3 results between now and May, whether or not that's Sheffield United or it's Luton or, you know, Everton, or I don't know, whoever it's going to be. You know, that's all I'm really worried about. I'm just more interested in our players having a good game and seeing them sort of picking up a couple of levels as well, because we do have players coming back. So looking at the lineup, who do I expect to be playing on Saturday? I think it pretty much to be the same as what we had against Manchester City. Maybe there might be one change because we've got Godos that's come back from the African Cup of Nations. I mean, the irony is Godos is actually a forward, but we've been playing him in defence recently because we've been so struggling in defence. So I'm not quite sure how that will go. I mean, he literally flew. I think he literally legged it from the he's not in the Cup of Nations actually. He was in the Asian Cup. He was playing for Iran in the Asian Cup and they lost. So I think he legged it straight to the airport, flew back in, and he came back in today. Fair play to him. So whether or not he might be too jet lagged to play, I've got no idea. But we've got Flecken in goal. I'm 100% sure he's going to play after his performance against Manchester City. Then we've got Ben Mee, Nathan Collins, and Ethan Pinnock as well. We're going to be 3 at the back. We're going to play those three at the back as well. On the right, now this is the interesting one. Right back, we're going to go Roslev again. Roslev, he's one of those players that he's an all right player. He's come out of our B team, but sometimes they could put some question marks around him as well. So whether or not we'll play him there or whether or not we'll put somebody like Godos in that position, I don't know. That's up to Thomas Frank. On the left-hand side, we've definitely got Reguilon there as well, which is good. So let's just see how he actually kind of changes the side up as well. In the middle there, we got Christian Norgard, the CDM man, and then we got Jan Elton Jensen, who I expect to see playing in those positions as well. Then up front, we're going to have Neil Malpay and Ivan Toney doing the business up there. So, and just to give you a score prediction, it's a tough one. I know it's going to be tough up Wolves. I know that we struggle to keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which I'll be very happy with if we get a 1-1 draw. They're just eking away at the points because we just need to keep ourselves, just to make sure that we just keep the Wolves at bay as they are. Not yourselves Wolves. I mean the other Wolves, as in the other, baying Wolves at bay, so that we're actually okay in this league. So anyway. That's me done. Like I said, Billy Grant, you can catch us on Besotted, BWSOTTED, or Pride of West London. You'll catch our podcast. We're going to record it later on this evening. And we're looking forward to the game on Saturday. Enjoy yourselves after this Saturday. Enjoy yourselves and have yourselves a good season. Thanks for having me on. Again, thank you, Wolves fans.
So big thanks once again to Billy. I'll make sure I leave a link to him and the Besotted guys in the description down below. And fingers crossed, guys, it is another 3 points to Wolves. Do let me know your thoughts and score prediction in the comment section down below. Be sure to get involved with the BetMate game. Link in the top of the description. And we'll be back after the game with the post-match stuff. Obviously, my reaction, the fans react as well. We'll have the podcast out on Tuesday, as per usual. And any big updates, you'll see them at Talking Wolves on all of your socials. Until then, though, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll catch you all very, very soon.